G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous with Mags. So, since our last episode, we have gone through a little bit of an upgrade. I've gotten rid of the Cobra Mark IV and replaced it with an Asp Explorer. Now, as the name suggests, the Asp Explorer is primarily an exploration craft. However, it also is one of the most fantastic smuggling ships in the game. And that's what we're going to cover today, how I make money in Elite Dangerous now. I've given up the bounty hunting, now I'm very much playing Han Solo. Now, I made my money to upgrade to the Asp Explorer, doing a combination of the Meta Alloys community goal as well as a little bit of smuggling on the side. The truth is, for the time spent, the smuggling was a far better way to make money, but I've never been involved in a community goal before, so the Meta Alloys is something that I really wanted to complete. Now, for smuggling runs, what you're after is these, Shadow Deliveries. These are not particularly valuable ones coming out of Obsidian Station at the moment. This one is 1.7 million, the other one is 1.8 million, or a little bit over once you count in the extra digits. In the end, this is going to be around about a just over 3.6 million credit run. And in total, I'm going to be moving 8 tons of cargo. That's it. So, why the Asp Explorer? Why this particular ship? Well, I don't know if it's the best ship in the world or in Elite Dangerous for doing smuggling runs, but it's definitely the best I've encountered so far. A lot of people think of smuggling and think about being sneaky, using the stealth abilities of your ships, turning off its heat, going into silent running mode. You don't actually have to do any of that. The thing that makes the Asp Explorer great for doing smuggling runs, there's two parts to it. First is its speed. If it ever gets interdicted, it's fast enough to be able to outrun pretty much anything that it encounters, providing you've upgraded the engines on the ship. Full power, full pips into engine power with 2 pips into shields, don't worry about the guns at all, and you can outrun and get back to frame shift before most things can kill you. The second is jump range and maximum jump distance. So what we're looking at here is how far the ship can actually move between stars in a single jump, and then how many jumps it can do before it runs out of fuel. Because as you can see on the map here, the world of Elite Dangerous is a big place. It's a nearly 1-to-1 scale recreation of our own galaxy. It is huge. This is a very small part of it. This is still almost considered local to Sol System. We're just outside of the bubble leaving Obsidian Station. The places we're going to are just inside the area defined as known space. And you can see each of these stars on the screen at the moment you can go to. Now, your maximum jump range is defined by the weight of your vessel. The more cargo you're carrying, the smaller your jump range. The Asp Explorer can carry 68 tons of cargo with my current configuration. However, I'm only carrying 8 tons total. 2 groups of 4. Now, with 4 tons of cargo on board, this ship can jump at 21 light years per jump, and it has a maximum jump range of 260 light years, which means it can almost make the run from Obsidian Station to inside of the bubble where I've got to deliver the cargo to without refueling. Now, having said that, it is only almost, so I will need to refuel at least 1 star, and I have a tendency to completely refuel the tanks and make 2 stops anyway. It's a good opportunity to take a break, refill the tanks, providing the area you're in is secured for refueling. Now, I do that just as a safety precaution, not as something that I absolutely need to do. And that's the difference. When I was doing smuggling runs in the Cobra Mark IV, doing a run this long, I would have to stop and refuel from empty to full at least twice, and that can take up to 4 minutes each time. And while you're refueling, you're vulnerable. Now, with the Cobra, I would often have to stay, even when I could see somebody coming at me to try and interdict me, because I needed the fuel. I didn't have enough fuel on board at the time to make more than 1, maybe 2 jumps, and if the next 2 stars I ran into both turned out to be unscoopable, I'm dead in the water, I can't go anywhere. With the Asp, I always stop to sort of refuel the tanks around about 50% of my fuel tank load. If somebody comes in to try and interdict me, I'll just abort the scoop and jump out of system before they get there. You can't keep up with me. And because the maximum jump range on the Asp is so high, even player pirates that are trying to, and I could not for the life of me work out what that guy was doing in the Eagle, but because the maximum jump range of the Asp is so high, if a player pirate tries to intercept you, and even if they get a scan on your wake so they know the next system you jump to, it's highly unlikely that they will have the jump range to be able to make the jump themselves. So they'll have to make 2 jumps to get to your location, and by the time they're there, you've already jumped again and you're gone. I've been told the Diamondback exploration ships are also very good for doing this kind of a run. They tend to have a smaller cargo capacity overall, but they're a little bit cheaper to buy, but are just as effective at long range jumping and keeping their speed up, so they're another option. I haven't flown any of the Diamondbacks yet, although I'm going to spend some of the money on making smuggling on buying one at some point. So, clear of Obsidian Orbital, and the first thing that's important for us to do is jump the hell out of here, because there is one rule to smuggling.
Frameshift drive charging.
If you check the details on any smuggling mission, any shadow delivery mission that you pick up, it'll have a small line in the bottom of it that says you cannot be scanned. After undocking from a station, you can potentially receive a scan upon leaving. That will fail the mission straight away, so get away from the station as quickly as possible. And into which space we go. I've been told by some players that occasionally some weird stuff happens while you're in the tunnel. Little effects, little shadows that drift across the cockpit. I've never seen any of them myself, but I'm hoping to at some point. And we arrive at the first star. No point in stopping at this one. We'll bring the nose straight around. And as soon as the FSD is cooled down, we'll immediately initiate a second jump. And we'll do this a couple of times before we make our first fuel stop.
Four, three, two, one, engage.
Now I've just realised that this recording was actually done after my second stage of upgrades on the Asp Explorer, which means my jump range with an empty load, or a small load like what I've got now, is actually closer to 26 light years. I still have a maximum range of only 260, however, but my cargo capacity on this variant of the Asp, which has just over 30 million credits in upgrades on board, and now actually has a 72-ton cargo bay as well. So just a couple of updates there.
Charging.
Now you'll notice I was firing an advanced exploration scanner as I was lining up for the next jump point. This is because I'm mapping each of these systems as I go through it, giving myself the locations of all of the stations, stars, planetary orbits, everything I need for future reference.
2, 1, engage.
If you're varying your smuggling paths a little bit, not always going through the same systems and using that scanner the whole way through, I found you can make anywhere between 100 to 200,000 credits more mapping out these systems while you're doing a smuggling run, on top of the value of your cargo itself. Now this jump got real interesting real fast. My jump destination is just around the circumference of the star, so I need to move around the star in order to be able to get a lineup. However, I've got a ship moving in behind me that's likely going to interdict me. I think I've been located by bounty hunters. Now, if they're successful in their interdiction, the first thing they're going to do is try and scan me once I'm in normal space. This is the bit where most people panic and they go for stealth, go for silent running, whatever else they can go for. This won't help you. If the ship is within a certain range, they can scan you even when you're in silent running.
Warning, temperature critical. Warning, temperature critical.
Now when the FSD was charged there, I tried to line up with my destination point. Sometimes you can jump out of the interdiction, but it doesn't always work. In this case it didn't. Now, first thing I do is deploy the guns, target the ship that interdicted me, and shoot it. Now, at this point, these guys didn't actually try and scan me. In most cases they do. These guys were just out to straight up pirate and kill me. So that's simple enough. Put some shots into them and run away. Now the reason why I went for guns first, if these guys tried to scan me, the way it works, their guns will be retracted while they are initiating the scan. In most cases, if you just deploy guns and target the enemy, they will cancel the scan and deploy their own weapons, especially security ships. If they continue scanning you after you have your weapons deployed, you shoot them and they will cancel their own scan and deploy their own weapons. At that point you turn and run. The guns weren't deployed to fight, they were just deployed to interrupt the scan. It's the only reliable way to do it. At that point you just open the throttles up, run for your jump point, and as soon as you're out of range and able to charge, jump to the next system and keep going. Now, of course, shooting a security vessel will net you a fine. However, it's worth it, especially if you happen to be carrying, say, 3 to 4 million out to possibly 20 million credits in illegal cargo. You can afford to pay that fine afterwards. So, for this round, we managed to clear away from our pirates. It's not too much of an issue, and I'm looking to fuel tank. We're just under half a tank at the moment. It's time to pull in for some fuel. Now, this is going to take a while. I have a Class 4 fuel scoop on board, which can scoop out to 175%. It's a really good scoop, but I also have a massive fuel tank to give me that range. Scooping from empty to full takes 4.5 minutes on this ship. Thankfully, due to the magic of editing, we don't have to wait around, although I didn't fill the tank entirely on this run. I only took myself up to 2/3. I wanted to keep moving. At this point I've actually got enough fuel on board that I could potentially complete the run, but I will stop a second time. I just want to get closer to the bubble. Now I've mentioned that word a couple of times, the bubble. What is it? Well, the bubble is the boundary of civilized space, where humans have colonized and have control. Everything outside of the bubble is lawless free space. Now at this point I'm going to roll the ship over and I'm going to start scooping again. I find it's easier to scoop if you're inverted to the star, because you can see the position of the star and your distance from it, along with keeping your IDs on your heat and your fuel scoopage gauge. Now if you're in an absolute emergency and you're out of fuel and you need to scoop, and somebody looks like they're moving in to interdict you, a trick you can do is point the nose completely away from the star, pointing your back directly towards the star. Any ships that try and maneuver in behind while you're at scooping altitudes will generally slam into the exclusion boundary for the star and get knocked out of frame shift. The catch is this will significantly slow your scooping speed, so if you're looking to try and pick up a lot of fuel in a short amount of time, it's not a great option, but it will save your rear if you're in trouble. So the next few jumps on this run were pretty much non-events. Nothing of particular interest happened. I scooped a little bit of fuel and just lined up for the next run. So let's speed things up a bit.
2, 1, engage.
So, 2 jumps later and we're now inside of the bubble, but check the system map below. We have ships closing in. It looks like we're about to be interdicted a second time.
Frameshift drive charging.
Charging for frameshift to see whether or not I can get the jump before it hits, and nope, we don't get it. Okay, so interdiction. Interdiction is basically a little mini game. As you can see, we've got an escape vector in front. You've got a blue bar on the left hand side, a red bar on the right. If the red bar fully fills, you get interdicted. If you can get the blue bar all the way to the top by staying on the escape vector, you'll break the interdiction. The ship trying to interdict you will drop into normal space and you'll be free to continue on. Now the mass of the ships involved do come into the equation. As a general rule, heavier ships will find it an easier time to interdict lighter ships, but at the same time lighter ships will find it easier to stay on the escape vector in order to fill that bar. So it's a bit of a playoff depending on what ships are involved on how easy it is to actually escape. And as you can see, the ship behind me is obviously of reasonable mass, as my escape bar is not filling as much as I would like, but at the same time I'm not managing to completely break away, and when it does get on my 6 nice and tight, it is filling its interdiction bar very, very, very quickly. And in fact, I wasn't able to get onto the escape vector there and got interdicted. So, same again as last time, immediately pull the ship around, hostile ship is to my rear, bring it, target, lock, and start shooting, it starts scanning. Now I'm still using the stock guns that came with the ASP this time. I should probably fit something with a gimbal on them since I don't need the power. Now there's 2 ships here. I want to make sure the second ship is also been engaged so it doesn't initiate a scan while I'm running.
Under attack.
There we go. Now they're both red, guns are deployed. Retract my own weapons and start boosting towards my next jump point, opening up as much of a gap as I possibly can. And as I said, the ASP is fast. This is why you do it this way, continuing to boost at this time, and I've already pulled out of weapons range of both ships. Just got to wait. If you see on the bottom right hand side of the screen, just underneath where my fuel is and my indicators for my cargo scoops and so on, was a small indicator showing the cooling state of my FSD. As soon as the cooling state went away, immediately start charging for the jump and exit the system. And I find doing things this way almost always guarantees me an escape and guarantees me preventing that scan. Trying to go into silent running mode, it will work sometimes, but it's not reliable. If the ship's within a certain range, you will still get scanned. So, 5 more jumps remaining till we're at the destination for our first delivery, so let's speed things up again. A lot of yellow stars in this section of the galaxy. It's great. It means I can always refuel the tanks whenever I need to. So, anyways, we're coming in on Martin's Prospect. Now, it is an outpost-style station. It's not a letterbox station. As a result, these stations almost never scan you on approach, so we don't need to worry about approach angles at all. Now, on stations, your orbitals with your letterbox entry, like Obsidian Orbital that we departed from, the trick to coming in on those stations and avoiding a scan, those stations will not scan you if you are inside of them, and neither were any of the ships that are around. When you make your approach on the station, come in at the planet that they're orbiting and drop out of frame shift in between the planet and the space station. The space stations are always oriented so the letterbox faces towards the planet that they're orbiting. When you come out of frame shift on those stations, immediately start boosting directly towards the letterbox, contact the station requesting permission to dock, and then rush the letterbox opening as fast as you possibly can. If a scan is initiated, you have enough momentum up you can slide inside the letterbox, the scans will cancel, and you'll be able to dock. The only thing to watch out for is you will be speeding when you go through, so any impact you have with another ship, not only could it do damage, but you will be fined for it and could be potentially engaged. So watch your entry, look for other ships. If it looks like something large is going through the letterbox, pull out of distance or jump back to frame shift, circle around and come back in and try again.
Landing gear deployed. Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
And that's it, we are docked safely. So I enter inside the station, we do a refuel and a resupply. I check to see if there's anything else going on in the mission logs, anything else that I could potentially do out here. Pick up my 1,641,000 credits for completing the delivery, and we move on to the next station. There was nothing else taking us in the direction we wanted to go, so we head towards our next location. Now the next system is only 2 jumps away. That's why I took both of these missions. They were both delivering into a very confined area. We have a full tank of fuel, so there's no reason to stop or scoop at this time. It's just a matter of 2 jumps and deliver at the next point. And the rest of this mission went perfectly smoothly. There were no interdictions, nothing went wrong. It was just a simple matter of jumping over to the next system. So, as I said at the start of this mission, I'm currently operating out of Obsidian Orbital, so once I've completed these missions, I obviously want to go back there. What to do on the way back? Well, it's obviously in the areas where you stop, refuel, look for upgrades for your ships, do a little bit of checking to see if there happens to be any missions that are taking stuff back there. If you can't find one, whatever system you're operating out of, be sure to check the markets and see what the values are. At the moment, or at least at the time I made this video, Obsidian Orbital was paying a large amount for just standard food blocks. So that's what I did on the way back. I picked up a full cargo load of 72 tons of food stuff and took it back to Obsidian Orbital.
1. Engage.
Now, that foodstuff run didn't really make me a huge amount of profit. I only made about 100 to 150,000 credits, but that's still more than I would have made with an empty hull, and in the end it didn't really extend my jump time too much. I was down to 21 light years on the return jumps home. It extended my travel time by about 10 minutes, if that. The systems that I scanned on the way in, however, made me another 200,000 credits, so my return to Obsidian Orbital, selling off the data there, was about 350,000 credits profit on return to station, bringing a combined total profit for the entire run from and return to Obsidian Station at just short of 4 million credits. The transit time was about 26 minutes from Obsidian to Hunziker Landing for the final delivery, not including the time I spent docked at the first outpost, with the return travel time of about 35 minutes, so just short of 4 million credits in an hour. Now, of course, this isn't the most money you can make doing smuggling. Upon my return to Obsidian Orbital, there were actually 2 more shadow delivery missions there that I picked up. One was 3.7 million and one was 4.1 million, and they were delivering about to the same area, so the travel time for that mission combination was about the same. But of course there was a much higher profit involved, and that's the catch with doing these shadow delivery missions. The amount of profit you make is entirely dependent on the missions that are available. Sometimes you'll get some light missions that'll only pull in maybe 2 million for a run like this in an hour. Other times you can get missions that are worth, nearly 10 million each. Sometimes you'll have a bunch of smaller missions, but you might have 6 or 7 of them that you can rack up together. It depends on what is available at the station at the time. But anyways, ladies and gents, that's how I'm making money now. I've given up on the bounty hunting. I just wasn't making enough profit to get the bigger ships, and I've decided I actually want some of the larger ships and to start traveling the larger reaches of space. And this is definitely a fun, interesting, and extremely profitable way of making money. And it looks like I've approached this landing pad for the wrong direction, so better spin the ship around and reline back up. Yes, there is a very particular way you've got to land the ship. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you between the stars.